If I asked you to name the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, you would probably say Haiti. And you would be right. But if I asked you why Haiti is poor, you might mention the corruption. You might talk about the devastating earthquake in 2010. Or you might just say it's a tragedy of bad luck. But what if I told you that is a lie? The poverty of Haiti is not an accident of history. It is a crime scene. It is the result of a calculated, century-long robbery that was executed not by pirates, but by banks, by diplomats, by the governments of France and the United States. For 122 years, Haiti was forced to pay for its own existence. Imagine a kidnapping victim who manages to escape only to receive a bill from the kidnapper for the cost of the rope and the bullets. That is exactly what happened to Haiti. They call it the independence debt, but that is a polite name for extortion. In modern money, the cost was $21 billion. $21 billion. This is the story of how the world's first black republic was bankrupted by the very empires that claimed to stand for liberty. This is the story of why the streets of Port-au-Prince are broken, while the boulevards of Paris are paved with gold extracted from the Caribbean. To understand the chaos of today, we have to go back to the moment the crime began. We have to go back to 1825.
Before Haiti was a failed state, it was the most profitable piece of real estate on planet Earth. In the 18th century, it wasn't called Haiti. It was Saint-Domingue, a French colony, and it was an economic monster. This tiny island produced 60% of the world's coffee and 40% of the sugar consumed in Europe. It generated more wealth for France than all of the 13 American colonies combined generated for England. They called it the Pearl of the Antilles. But pearls are shiny and beautiful. The reality of Saint-Domingue was a nightmare. This wealth was built on a system of brutality that is hard for us to even comprehend today. The French plantation owners worked the enslaved Africans so hard that the average life expectancy for a slave upon arrival was just 7 years. It was cheaper for the French to work a human being to death and buy a new one than it was to keep them alive. The wealth of the French Empire, the grand palaces, the art, the culture, was fueled by this machinery of death. France was addicted to the sugar money, and they were never going to give it up willingly. But in 1791, the impossible happened. The slaves rose up. Led by Toussaint Louverture, a former slave with a genius for military strategy, they defeated the Spanish. Then they defeated the British, and finally they defeated the mighty army of Napoleon Bonaparte. On January 1st, 1804, they declared independence. They renamed the island Haiti, the indigenous Taino name for Land of High Mountains. It was the only successful slave revolt in human history. It was a beacon of hope for every enslaved person in the Americas. But for the white slave-owning powers of the world, Haiti was not a beacon, it was a virus. Imagine the terror in Washington, D.C., in London, in Paris. If the slaves in Haiti could win, what would stop the slaves in Jamaica, or Georgia, or Virginia? Thomas Jefferson, who was President of the United States at the time, was terrified. He said that the revolution in Haiti needed to be confined and starved. The world powers built an invisible wall around the new nation. They placed a total trade embargo on Haiti. No one would buy their sugar. No one would sell them weapons. The French Navy patrolled the waters, waiting. For 20 years, Haiti lived in a state of siege. They were free, but they were alone. They had the guns, but they had no economy. And France was waiting for the perfect moment to send the bill.
That moment came on a summer morning in July 1825. The citizens of Port-au-Prince looked out at the horizon and saw a terrifying sight. A fleet of French warships had entered the harbor. They positioned themselves with their cannons aimed directly at the city. These ships carried over 500 guns, ready to level the Haitian capital to the ground. An envoy from the French king, Charles X, rowed ashore. He didn't come to negotiate, he came to deliver a message. It was a royal ordinance. The document was short and brutal. It stated that France would recognize Haiti's independence, but only on two conditions. First, Haiti had to lower its tariffs on French goods to half of what everyone else paid. This would cripple Haitian local businesses. Second, and this is the part that changed history, Haiti had to pay an indemnity to compensate the French plantation owners for their lost property. And what was that property? It was the land, the equipment, and the human beings, the bodies of the Haitians themselves. The French were demanding to be paid for the value of the people who had freed themselves. The price tag? 150 million francs. Let's put that number in perspective. At that time, the annual revenue of the Haitian government was about 2 million francs. France was demanding a sum equal to 75 years of the country's total income. Compare this to the Louisiana Purchase. 2 decades earlier, the United States bought a massive chunk of North America from Napoleon for just 60 million francs. France was demanding more than double that amount from a tiny island of former slaves. The Haitian president, Jean-Pierre Boyer, was faced with an impossible choice. Option A, refuse to pay. The French warships would open fire. They would re-invade, re-enslave the population, and burn the country to ash. After 20 years of isolation, Haiti didn't have the resources to fight another war. Option B, agree to the debt, pay the ransom, save the people from war, but sell the country's future. Boyer looked at the cannons, he looked at his people, and he signed the paper. In that moment, Haiti went from being a pariah state to being a debtor state. The chains of slavery were physically removed, but they were replaced by the invisible chains of debt. And these chains were made of gold.
This is where the scam gets truly sophisticated. Haiti obviously did not have 150 million francs sitting in a vault. They were a nation of farmers. So, how do you pay a ransom when you have no money? You borrow it. But who do you borrow from? You can't go to the Americans or the British. They are still blockading you. The only banks willing to lend Haiti the money were French banks. A consortium of French bankers offered to loan Haiti the first installment of the payment, but the terms were predatory. They charged massive fees and high interest rates. So, follow the money. Haiti borrows money from a French bank to pay the French government. The French government gets the cash, the French bank gets a guaranteed stream of interest payments for decades, and Haiti gets nothing. This created what historians call the double debt. Haiti owed the ransom, and they owed the loans they took to pay the ransom. The economy of Haiti was instantly paralyzed. Instead of building schools, they paid France. Instead of building roads, irrigation systems, or hospitals, they paid France. For the next century, every time a Haitian coffee farmer sold a bag of beans, a huge percentage of that profit was siphoned off. The Haitian government taxed its people into the ground, not to develop the nation, but to satisfy the bankers in Paris. By the late 1800s, 80% of Haiti's national budget was going solely to debt service. Imagine that. Imagine if the United States government spent 80% of your taxes just paying off a loan to England. There would be no military, no police, no infrastructure. The state would collapse. That is exactly what happened to Haiti. The government couldn't pay its civil servants. Soldiers went unpaid, leading to instability and coups. The political chaos that Western observers loved to criticize was a direct result of the treasury being empty. But France wasn't the only one getting rich. As the 20th century approached, a new empire was rising in the West, and they wanted a piece of the action. By 1910, the United States was becoming the dominant power in the Caribbean. American banks, specifically the National City Bank of New York, which we now know as Citibank, saw an opportunity. The French were getting tired of managing the debt. The Americans stepped in and bought out a significant portion of the Haitian National Bank. Suddenly, Haiti wasn't just answering to Paris, they were answering to Wall Street. But the Haitians were becoming restless. The crushing taxes and poverty were leading to riots. The American bankers were worried that the instability would threaten their profits. They lobbied Washington to do something. In 1914, in one of the most bizarre and gangster-like operations in diplomatic history, U.S. Marines landed in Port-au-Prince. They marched into the National Bank of Haiti. They opened the vaults, and they physically removed $500,000 worth of gold reserve. They packed the gold into wooden crates, loaded it onto a ship, and sailed it to New York, where it was deposited into the vaults of National City Bank. It was a bank robbery, sanctioned by the state. A year later, in 1915, the U.S. didn't just take the gold, they took the whole country. Following the assassination of the Haitian president, President Woodrow Wilson ordered a full military occupation of Haiti. The U.S. Marines would stay for 19 years. During this occupation, the U.S. rewrote the Haitian Constitution. They dissolved the parliament at gunpoint when the Haitians refused to pass American-friendly laws. They reinstated a form of forced labor to build roads. But most importantly, they ensured that the debt was paid. The U.S. officials took control of Haiti's customs houses. They collected the import and export taxes directly. Before a single dollar could be spent on a Haitian school or a Haitian doctor, the U.S. Comptroller General made sure the foreign banks were paid first. 40% of Haiti's national income during the U.S. occupation was used to pay off the American and French creditors. By the time the U.S. military left in 1934, they left behind a country with a modernized army trained to suppress its own people, and an economy that had been bled dry for over a century. It wasn't until 1947, 125 years after the French gunboats appeared, that Haiti finally paid off the last cent of the independence debt. 4 generations of Haitians had lived and died working to pay for a freedom they had already won with their blood.
So, let's talk about the cost. Not just the dollar amount, but the cost of opportunity. In 2003, the Haitian president Jean-Bertrand did something dangerous. He hired a team of economists and lawyers to calculate exactly how much money had been extracted from Haiti. They looked at the 150 million francs. They looked at the interest rates. They adjusted for inflation and economic growth. The number they came up with was $21 billion. Aristide went on television and demanded that France pay it back. He called it restitution. He argued that the debt was illegal, extracted under the threat of violence. The French government, unsurprisingly, dismissed the claim. They called it ridiculous. But behind closed doors, they were nervous. A legal precedent for reparations would be a nightmare for former colonial powers. A few months after making this demand, in February 2004, Aristide was overthrown in a coup d'etat. He was flown out of the country on an American plane. Now, whether you support Aristide or not, the timing is impossible to ignore. The moment a Haitian leader aimed at the root cause of the poverty, the debt, he was removed. After the coup, the new government dropped the demand for reparations. The issue was buried. But we can't bury the reality. $21 billion. Think about what that money could have done for a country of 10 million people. That is money that could have built a power grid that doesn't fail every day. It could have built a sewage system so that cholera wouldn't kill thousands. It could have reinforced buildings so that when the earthquake hit in 2010, the death toll wouldn't have been so catastrophic. When the earthquake struck, the world rushed to donate millions to Haiti. We felt good about our charity. We sent water, we sent tents, we sent doctors. But we forgot that we were giving pennies back to a beggar that we had robbed for a century. The disaster in Haiti was natural. The vulnerability of Haiti was man-made. History is often told as a series of disconnected events. We see a riot on the news, we see a boat of refugees, and we shake our heads. We ask, what is wrong with those people? But if you zoom out, the picture becomes clear. Haiti is not a story of failure, it is a story of punishment. It was punished for the audacity of being the first, for standing up in a world of slavery and saying, we are human. The French Empire, the American banks, and the global economic system treated Haiti like a virus that needed to be contained, and the tool they used was debt. Today, there is no more slavery in Haiti. The gunboats are gone, the Marines are gone, but the legacy of that ransom note is written in the scars of the land. We cannot change the past. We cannot undo the 122 years of extortion, but we can stop lying about the present. When we talk about Haiti, we need to stop using words like charity and aid. We need to start using words like justice and restitution, because until we acknowledge the crime, there can be no healing. The $21 billion is gone. But the truth, that is something we can still recover. If you believe this story needs to be heard, share this video. The history books left this chapter out. It's up to us to write it back in.